On 24th July 2025 as correct, because we must have all definitely read them. So I'll wait for the Chair's communications for the next, the licensing committee part. And the Frankie Democratic Services Officer will now undertake the call over and ask the members indicate those items which they wish reserved for discussion by calling them as appropriate. Thank you.
That's quite a short call over, only one item. Item 7, licence fees 2026 to 27. Called.
Perfect. I can confirm that licensing fees will be discussed. So I note there's no public involvement for this meeting, and I note there is no member involvement for this meeting. So I'd like to introduce Alex Evans to introduce the report for us. Thank you.
Chair, members of the committee, thank you. I'm presenting the annual licence fee report for your consideration today. This report sets out the proposed fees and charges for 2026/27 for activities regulated under the Non-Licensing Act of 2003 functions, including street trading, sex establishments, skin piercing, animal-related activities and taxi licensing. The key principles behind these proposals are fees must be set in accordance with relative legislation and case law, ensuring they are proportionate and directly related to the cost of providing the service. The proposed fees reflect inflationary pressures, particularly staffing costs, and aim to fully recover the cost of administrating these licences. The review has been undertaken in line with the Council corporate fees and charges policy and monitored through the targeted budgeting monitoring process. It's important to note that these fees are not intended to generate surplus income. They are calculated to cover the cost of the service delivery only as required by law. The report has been reviewed and signed off by finance and legal colleagues, and the appendices provide a detailed breakdown of the proposed fees for each category. If I could just bring your attention firstly to the taxi licence fees, and I'll ask Frankie to share this with you on the screen. Unfortunately, the one that was circulated, the columns have gone a bit skew-whiff. So under the knowledge test fee, there's 2 columns, and I don't think the third column's come up correctly, so it should be increased from £50 to £67. And also the vehicle transfer private hire fee has been increased from £200 to £210. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions on the report? Councillor Shanks.
There you go.
Thank you. So what consultation was undertaken, for example, with the taxi drivers who apparently aren't very happy? I'm also not sure, for example, I'm not familiar with these, so it's quite interesting, but do you know, for body piercing, for example, there's a licence, is that?
So, know the point of what you asked, Councillor Shanks, but I just wanted to mention it because it's something we've been working on. And Alex can answer the taxi part.
Thank you. Yeah, thank Councillor Shanks. Yeah, the taxi trade, usually they're notified during the taxi forums that are held during the year. Unfortunately, that didn't happen this year, but they were consulted with and they were emailed out, although it was late notice, and you probably did see that email, and I spoke to the trade rep about that separately, so they were consulted with, but at a later stage than we normally like to do. So our apologies for that, but that they have been consulted with.
Did you mean with the body piercing? There is I can't just say I'm a body piercer, or can I? I don't want to be a body piercer, but yeah.
Still with us. They don't have to have any formal qualifications, unfortunately, but we do have to do checks with our bylaws for it's basically health and safety checks.
Lines?
Yeah, just a short question. Do we have a schedule somewhere for the additional revenue that the increases will generate?
Do you mean like a total? What? We don't have available, but just add up all the numbers and we can work it. We'll add in a block in there. Okay.
Yeah. Did you get that, Fess? so it's actually the actual monetary figure. So if we've got, let's say, 1,000 taxi drivers, I know we haven't got 1,000, but let's say it's 1,000 taxi drivers and it's 20 quid extra per taxi driver, that's going to generate 20 times £1,000. So it's the total figure for the year. And we also need really the additional expenditure. It's going to, so is it actually going to be a net surplus, or are we looking at creating additional revenue here, or is it trying to reduce the costs? So need to have some sort of thinking behind the increases.
So, I mean, I can answer.
I'm not against the increase.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, we have got the full picture.
Just to answer your question, these are not money-making revenue streams. They're mostly just covering the cost of what we're doing. And to be honest, for a lot of it, not covering the costs. So we're covering costs in certain areas. So there's one, the scrap metal fee that's been the same for years and years and years that we've not moved. So it's just been lying there as a small fee for a long time that we've been like, actually that needs to be updated. So it's not making any grand amounts of money, sadly, Councillor Lyons, but it's more just kind of covering the cost of what the team's doing.
No, just to add on to that, so it's over a 5-year period, so licence fees. So, for example, vehicle licence fees are issued annually, where driver licence fees are 3 years and operators are for 5 years. So some years there may be more money taken for applications that come in, and other years there may be less, depending on at the point they are through their 1, 2 or 5 year licence. So there may be a surplus in 1 year which carries over to the next, or there may be a deficit which is then covered by a surplus.
Yeah, thanks. But as a scrutiny committee, I can't justify or give an opinion whether something's being recommended to be increased by 5%, which on the face of it may seem plausible, whether or not that is a recommendation that I can concur with, because I haven't got that data. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's just based on inflation, staffing costs. I understand your point, Councillor Lyons, but it's not something that we've ever done before. I've had that number in and we've signed off additional increases in previous ones in this committee based off the percentage and it being closer there around to what a commercial inflation rate would be. So it's, or if it hasn't been, it's been clearly explained why the percentage is higher than what inflation would be. So while I get your point, it's no, they're a monetary value. The sense and the explanation is there in a percentage value. So taxi fees are completely separate as well and can't be used for other functions. So, cool. Any further questions on the fees? Oh, Councillor Parra.
Can I ask with taxi fees how we compare Brighton Hove to, say, Lewis or Crawley? Because I'm aware that a lot of taxi drivers now are getting their licences in Lewis and Crawley, particularly Uber drivers, and that that the implications for us as a city are that we are struggling with the numbers of disabled taxis, for example. They also have less stringent licence rules in terms of what they need to know and how they, So, for example, I got a taxi the other day. He was licensed out of Lewes. I happened to notice on my app, and I asked him why, and he said, "Oh, because I don't need to know the area." And he dropped me off in completely the wrong place, and I then had to run from my meeting because I was late and lost, which wasn't great. So, that's fine. I managed. Well, but that's the point. So I'm just curious about how we level with Lewes and Crawley, particularly given, I am very concerned about the proportion of disabled taxis and the impact that is beginning to have on the disabled community.
Councillor, thank you. Yeah, the comparison between Lewes, for example, I know recently they have significantly increased their fees by 50% in some areas in relation to driver and vehicle licence fees, and also Chichester have, and they're now two main out-of-town areas that come into the city. I don't know if that's had an impact at the moment because it's only recently, so it's probably going to take a few years for that to sort of come in. So we'll see if that sort of distracts people from being licensed out of town and coming to Brighton Hove. But yes, you're quite right. Every area has their own conditions, and we're really proud of the licensing conditions we have here in Brighton Hove. And we work with those other authorities to bring them hopefully in line with us more. And there is other work that's ongoing at the moment in relation to that.
I think it's worth saying as well that for lack of a better term, our licences are better, and they're a bit stricter in the knowledge, the tests that we do. I've actually heard from somebody in the exact same position that said, I was like, why don't you have a Brighton Hove licence? And he said, well, I'm going to use Lewes, but I don't think it was a Lewes. He was like, well, the Lewes test's easier, which was quite scary because I was in the back of his taxi. So also, a lot of these councils don't even have licensing departments really, or hire that many people to look after them in terms of pure taxis. On our licences. The other thing, in terms of disabled, we actually, I think it's like 2 or 3 times more than even our closest council in terms of WAV. Am I saying that right, WAV? There was a proposal to limit that a bit purely because we had so many that more than what we needed for the city, and that we were, so good in that specific part of having. So I would disagree in terms of the amount of disabled taxis.
So what I would say, the feedback from the disabled community, particularly wheelchair users, is that they are struggling sometimes to get taxis and to find appropriate taxis. And I know that the mayor has found that as well and has raised it as a specific concern. So.
We do. We've spoken about this before, but I think we need to bring that up at the taxi forum specifically as well, because we have the number of vehicles. So why are people still feeling that lack of? Okay. Any further questions? Cool, perfect. So does the committee agree the recommendations? We don't. Needs to do hands, sorry. That's so all those that are in favour? And then all those against?